then mixing is actually fairly loud, whether you're shaking water or you're mixing in a cup. It's a little
Right.
louder than I want to be. Uh,
Especially with elk. I know with sheep and stuff, sheep, you're not so worried about sound. Caribou, you're not worried about sound. Moose, you really are. But with elk, obviously, sound is a huge thing that you got to be careful of all the time.
so you mentioned sleeping. This is something that a lot of people will argue. Um, I've done a lot of cold weather training in the military. I did live in Alaska, and learned the right and wrong way to do things. And everybody's going to tell you I'm right or I'm wrong based on their own experiences.
Uh huh.
But when you're in Fort Drum, New York, and it's blowing 50, and it's a negative 60 wind chill, and you're in a shelter half with another dude in an army sleep system, you learn how to stay warm by what they teach you. And the less clothing you wear in your sleeping bag, if you have a decent bag, the better, because your body heat is going to trap itself into the next membrane. So if you're wearing a shirt and pants, your body heat isn't going to escape that, which is going to allow the cold into your bag and get close to
Interesting.
your body. Whereas if you take those membranes off and you sleep in just like underwear or even like long underwear, thermal underwear, you will allow your body heat to fight its way outward to that membrane of your sleeping bag, and you will actually stay warmer that way.
Interesting. I generally don't wear clothes to stay warm. Normally, if I'm sleeping in clothes, that's good to know. But normally, I'm wearing clothes to get them dry. I've never really gotten a chance where I've been cold. There was one time where I made some bad choices and kind of overexerted myself, and I actually think I was dehydrated. Even though, well, there's a really high chance I was extremely dehydrated and was barely functioning. But crawled into I stripped down. We were soaking wet. I poured like a cup of water out of each of my boots, and we were soaking wet. I stripped down to just my underwear, threw on my puffy jacket, my puffy pants, crawled into my sleeping bag, and passed out for like an hour and a half.
Right.
Eric was with me. That was in 23 when we shot my sheep. He was a little concerned for me. As I set my tent up and stuff first, but like I didn't unpack anything. I just dumped all my stuff on the ground in the vestibule, crawled in, blew up the air pad, jumped in the sleeping bag, and just passed out. As he fully set up his area, he went and got us water, came back, was trying to make me eat something. I was like, I'm not eating anything, but I'll take some water. but yeah, no, that is interesting, and that makes sense because, like you said, you're trying to trap as much heat as you can into that into your bag to heat everything. So that's
Right.
good to think about and pay attention to. Obviously, for me, I like I said, I was sleeping. Excuse me, I'm sleeping clothes dry, and even um you would and I'm sure you've done this, but people would be surprised at how wet your clothes can be, and you can wake up with everything on you completely dry.
Yeah.
The thing you got to think about, like I use a down sleeping bag, and there's a lot of guys who are going to say that's a terrible idea. I know a lot of guys who have survived pretty awful situations with down, um, but you got to be a little more careful with down than you would a synthetic bag about how many times you do that, just
Yeah.
because you need that down needs time for that bag to dry off a little bit more. Even with these, this new treated stuff is absolutely amazing, but you still want, like, I haven't put myself into this situation yet, but I would want my bag to dry out as much as possible between each time I do that. So
Yeah. So
um oh yeah.
when it's warm out, I sleep in what I'm going to wear the next day. So to allow my stuff to dry, if we're expecting rain, I'll just hang my stuff up in my tent that I wore the day before, and then while I'm out doing my thing, it's doing its thing. But I'll wear what I'm going to wear the next day just to save myself time in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, just being able to put your boots on, grab your pack that you're taking hunting with you, and go saves you, a half an hour of sleep. So,
Well, so that kind of leads me into the next thing I had to kind of for us to talk about here. So, when it comes to clothes, how many layers are you bringing, and what's kind of like your breakdown of your clothing kit?
so for the whole trip or for the actual hunt portion?
For let's say you're leaving the truck for 10 days with a pack on. I do it the same either way. Like I even on my moose hunt, it was funny because Eric and I we did that moose hunt this September, and we essentially packed clothing like we were going on a sheep hunt. So
Mhm.
uh, I bring two pairs of socks, wool socks. I'm a big fan of darn tough socks, so that's what I wear. I bring two pairs of darn tough socks and one pair of seal skins. Love seal skins. If you've never heard of them, they are huge,
The
and
only
that's not
sock
to
I wear when
lose.
I hunt.
What was that?
The only sock I wear when I hunt.
All the time? That's all you wear? Really? Okay. So
I feel if
I'm a
you have
huge
adequate
fan.
boots if you have adequate boots, you do not need any more thermal protection than a pair of
No,
sealskins, and
100%.
your feet may get wet from sweat, but they will not get wet from being, from the climate.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm a huge fan. Anybody who hasn't seen those, you should go check them out. They're pretty amazing. So I'll bring two pairs of socks, two pairs of underwear, one pair of pants. I bring a thin wool shirt, a t-shirt, and then a long sleeve. I bring a quarter zip that is probably my favorite piece of gear that I own. One of my top three. It's the one thing like I find myself, which is so funny because on one of my first hunts, I wasn't going to bring it, but ever since then, it's like it's the first thing I pack, and it's
Mhm.
this wool quarter zip. But one pair of that quarter zip, so t-shirt, long sleeve, thin merino wool, that quarter zip. I bring a puffy jacket, and then my rain jacket, puffy pants, rain pants, and then I normally bring a ball cap, and then I have a beanie with a little bit of a bill that I bring. And then a thin pair of merino gloves, which you wouldn't think would do that much, but gosh, that's probably I love those too. Those merino gloves, thin merino gloves are amazing. And then a thicker pair of gloves, and then a puffy pair for if I get if it's waterproof puffy gloves. So if it's really wet or really cold, that I can put those on. But
Yeah.
so I'm only bringing, even on my moose hunt, we decided to bring two pairs of pants just because. But everything else was the same: two socks, two underwear, and I just flip every day. I wear a pair, and I'm a wool fan because even after 10, 12 days of flipping socks and underwear back and forth, if you whether you rinse them off in a creek or not, which I will if we're around a creek and there's somewhere I can rinse them and then hang them up to dry, you don't stink. I did one trip with a guy who wore synthetics. Dude stunk himself out of his own tent. Like, I think we were 3 days in and he had brought this little thing of camp soap. And he was like, dude, I'm going to the creek. You stay here because I'm getting naked and I'm washing all my under stuff because I can't be in this tent anymore. Like, I stink so bad. So I'm a huge fan of wool. I think wool's the way to go. Some guys really like synthetic, but so kind of what's your breakdown on your gear? Or
So,
clothing, sorry.
if it's a 3-day hunt, I'm bringing 2 pairs of clothes. I substitute, I don't wear underwear, and I bring 2 extra pairs of socks. So I on whether it's a 10-day hunt or a 2-day hunt, I bring 4 pairs of socks.
Okay.
Um, and that's something I learned in the military. Wet feet, dry socks, wet boots, dry socks equal saving your feet. Um,
Dry feet is a huge mental thing for me, and I think it is for most people. Like, if you cannot do anything else right, but if you can have dry feet in the morning, your mental attitude and your ability to embrace the
yeah, you're starting to break up just a little bit. You're frozen on my screen. Oh, you're back. You
okay.
were I could hear you, but you were frozen. So
Gotcha. No, I was
my
just saying
rule
dry feet
yeah,
is huge.
my rule for clothing is um I'm a smorgasbord. I don't wear just Killick or just Sitka I have different shit. And if it's camo, it's camo. And our grandparents were killing stuff long before and they were on Carhartt and killing animals. Um, certain animals can see certain colors, so know that,
Yeah.
know your enemy. But if it's a 3-day hunt, 2 pairs of clothes. If it's anything longer than that, it's a pair of clothes for every 3 days. And
Okay.
I have one outer layer, one big outer layer that you may or may not pack in wearing. But I have my oh shit moment clothes with me. So I have you know, a really thick pair of pants and a really thick jacket, I only bring one of those. But I bring a pair of pants, a t-shirt. I go long sleeve, whether it's 95 degrees out or 25 degrees out, because you're not getting sunburnt. You don't have to bring sunscreen if you wear a long sleeve, and
Right.
you're hot either freaking way. So
Yeah.
you're gonna be hotter from the air you're breathing in than you are from what's touching you, because you can always find shade.
Right.
Um, but I bring one pair of clothes for every 3 days, minimum of two pairs of clothes for anything 3 days or less. Because with my hot rock system that I use, some people do a fire in the morning for coffee or whatever to boil whatever. So, use those rocks, put them in your hot bag, put them in your tent, go hunting, and leave anything wet you have hanging up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
if your sleeping bag's wet, throw them in your sleeping bag.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a method to my madness. But I wear first light gloves. I really like they're really lightweight. They're, you can get them waterproof, you can get them down, you can get whatever you want. Super lightweight, and I just like the way they are. I don't shoot with gloves on. So if I'm sitting, I usually, have my gloves on, but if I'm moving, I can always put my hands in my pockets or whatever. I have my gloves because you never want to have that split second where, oh, animal, and you rip a glove off. You
Have
know,
you
we
tried shooting with those super thin, like really thin merino gloves?
I have, but because of what I did in my previous life,
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about finger trigger, and I can't
Can't
shoot
do
with
it.
gloves.
I I don't think I have shot with gloves on. I think I always end up taking them off. But if I'm moving and I need that little bit of a layer, I wear those a lot. But I think that so far, every animal I've taken, I have not had gloves on that I can think of.
Right.
But I know, like, even if it's just if you get that little bit of wind going over your hands and you're a little bit sweaty, or if it's raining just a little bit and I'm walking, my hands have started gotten really cold the last couple of years. They get cold easier than they ever have in that I ever remember. Like as a kid, I don't ever remember getting cold hands, or as a athlete in high school, and even in like when we before we moved to Alaska. But the last like 5 6 years, my hands get really cold. But I find that even just putting that thin merino layer on,
Yeah.
I can handle just about anything. So,
Yeah, and the
um,
cost to weight ratio is not bad.
yeah, no, they're great. Give me
Ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain. So for your rifle, do you want to be carrying your big wood stock rifle, bull barrel out there hunting, or do some people can't afford to have a hunting rifle and a target rifle, or they can't afford to buy a rifle, so they're borrowing one, and you're just borrowing whatever your buddy has. But I think the ultimate goal is to get into something lighter weight
yeah,
be- and ergonomic. Like some people don't like chassis guns. I mean, that's my elk and big game rifle right there, and it's a
right,
chassis, but it folds up, and I can strap it to the side of my pack, so when I'm really walking and I'm getting into those poles, I don't have straps and a freaking sling, um, so
yeah,
it's to each their own, but
yep, yeah.
recommendation is go as light as you can.
I so when you obviously so one of your specialties is shooting, so one of the things that kind of brought you onto the show is obviously you're a hunter. Obviously we've talked a lot about your experience and stuff in the backcountry, but kind of one of your specialties is actually more on the shooting side of things, and specifically more long range shooting. So when you are looking at a backcountry rifle, I know that up here where I'm at, most people, if you're looking at a sheep rifle, everybody is thinking the lightest gun possible, the lightest gun possible, the lightest gun possible. And that's like the number one factor. Guys who are doing other stuff, they look at other things. Moose hunters don't care as much. Caribou hunters don't care as much. Bear hunters want the biggest boar they can stomach to shoot. So for you, with your experience as a shooter and with your history, and then just your endeavors that you do now with your training and teaching with shooting and stuff, what is your kind of ideal setup for a ultralight rifle versus well, I guess let's break it down a couple different ways. If you were going to build one rifle to do it all, what would that look like? And then maybe weight and caliber. And then if you were trying to build like a backcountry rifle, and then just a standard like hunting rifle for somebody who's not necessarily looking at doing these 10-day expeditions, kind of break that down. What does that look like?
So one rifle to rule them all in North America, be a probably a 300 PRC. If you can just buy one, um, you can scratch your long range itch if you want to, out at the range or whatever. It's perfectly capable. Um, Ballistically comparable to a 308 minus, a shoulder bump and some twist difference, or a 300 Win Mag. So I would do the 300 PRC just because it's more versatile than the 300 Win Mag. And here comes Grandpa yelling at me about it, but it is better. And we can do another video on that later on. But um, 30 cal, if you're in big predator country like where you live, you can kill a brown bear with a 223. You can
Right.
kill a brown bear with a 30-06. You can kill a brown bear with a 308. But if he's pissed off and he's running at you, you need to be able to disable said bear. Um, Not just put a good vital shot on him and let him bleed out for 200 yards. You need to stop him.
Right.
And a 30 cal is probably as low as I would go for that. Um, if you're going to have a bear rifle and then you're going to have, a moose, caribou, sheep rifle, I would probably step that up to a 338, um, for a bear only rifle, for the same reason. So, if you have to disable that bear, I mean, for me, my bear rifle is a 45-70. If I'm going bear hunting, I take a 45-70 with me. Um, so if you're going lightweight, it all depends on your budget. Build it for your budget. You can go get a Tika T3X ultralight. You can go get a Fierce Carbon Edge. You can go get, whatever. But if you're going to spend Fierce money or Kimber money or all that and then have to switch stuff out later on, just build yourself a custom rifle. Go get the carbon fiber stock. Go get the carbon fiber barrel. Get the shaved bolt. Get the milled stuff, go lightweight with the optic. A lot of people, what they do is they're like, well, I can't afford this. So I buy this. And then they end up spending 3 times the amount of money because then they replace the stock, then they replace the barrel, and they buy different glass.
I
So
feel
I'm a
like you're
big fan
pointing
of,
at me right now.
I was pointing over at my lamp, but it's kind of
Yeah.
over.
Uh-huh,
But
uh-huh.
yeah. So, when you don't take your friend's advice and you end up, spending more than once and crying more than once, you can maybe call your friend and say, yeah, you were right. But you live and learn.
Wow.
So I'm a big fan of buy once, cry once. If you can't afford it, just always stay within your budget. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're out spending all this time on hunting and shooting and stuff, our wives are at home. They're not, getting to spend time with you. Don't be bleeding the bank account to be away from home, you know?
Yeah.
So, this is a big thing for them to endure as well as us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I
um,
think you said that something you said that I definitely want to hit on too for guys who aren't like, I'm hoping that some of the people who watch this are going to be guys who are either just picking up hunting or just getting into backcountry hunting. And you guys don't need to go out and buy a $2,000 rifle. Like even a $1,200 Christensen is not necessary to sheep hunt or backcountry hunt, elk hunt or anything.
mhm,
Um, like Mike said, a Tika T300, they're or, sorry, a Tika T3.
yeah.
They are
Yeah.
amazing rifles. I won't own one for the simple reason that I think they're ugly, but they are absolutely phenomenal rifles. I tell everybody whenever somebody asks me what rifle should I look at, they're the first brand I tell, and they start at like $800.
Mhm,
Weatherby Vanguards, they're a little heavy on the heavy side. Great rifle. I don't know anybody, and Michael or Mike, you may know somebody who has had a different experience, but I don't know anybody who's owned a Weatherby Vanguard who's had a bad rifle. Like they've all been good shooters and they really haven't had very many issues. Same thing, I mean, if you really want to go that far, a Vanguard is really a Howa 1500. I don't know anybody who's had a bad Howa 1500.
so
And
let's
so, like, you
let's
don't
touch on
have
one
to
thing
spend all
really
that.
quick.
Okay.
Accuracy and rifles. If you
Hmm.
go buy the cheapest, crappiest, most inaccurate rifle out there, it's still minute of animal. I mean, if you're out there trying to punch minute of angle groups at 100 yards, certain rifles aren't going to do that. But if your rifle shoots 3 inches at 100 yards, if you've got a 3-minute rifle, then you've got a hunting rifle. Our
Yep.
grandparents used the most inaccurate stuff. You know how many big game animals a 30-30's killed?
Yeah.
Um, so
Or a
when you're out
or
there,
a round ball, 50 caliber round ball.
right? Yeah, I mean, 2 million buffalo can't be wrong, right?
Right.
So
Oh my
when it comes down to it,
god.
just go out there, buy what you can afford. Some people, depending on how your finances are, maybe you can afford to buy that $500 hunting rifle now, knowing that in a year or two you can save up for your dream rifle.
Yep.
Or, maybe you're well off and you have the money. Go buy the big boy right now and learn with it, shoot with it. But whatever you buy, you need to train with. You can't just
Yep.
take that thing out, shoot it at a paper plate before hunting season every year, and go expect to harvest an animal.
100%.